Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. In this video, we'll be talking about Ionic framework. Ionic framework is an open source front-end SDK for developing hybrid mobile app, which means that you are using HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript to create applications which can be installed in Android, iPhone, Windows phones, and BlackBerry. So basically, what the main outcome of this Ionic app hybrid app is that you will be able to create applications for all these platforms. That is namely Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, and Windows phones. Using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS, which are basically the web programming languages. Now, in order to get started with Ionic, you need to install Node Js and Npm. So without these two, it's not going to be possible to get started with Ionic. But I'm not going to talk about the installation procedure for Node Js and Npm because the installation procedure is different for the different platforms. So depending on whether you are using a Mac or a Windows or a Linux distro, you have to find the procedure and install it on your own, because there are plenty of videos out there which will teach you how to install Node. Another thing if that you will need to install is npm. Okay, now once you have installed Node and npm, then you can go and install Ionic. So you can click on the get started button on the ionicframework.com site, and you will reach this page wherein you can find the installation command. So it's actually an npm or a node package that you have to install. So you will be using npm install -g Cordova space Ionic. So basically you are installing Cordova and Ionic, and -g represents that you are installing it in the global scope. So npm install -g Cordova Ionic. So I've already run this. I've already installed this, so I'm not going to run this again on my terminal. The next thing that we'll be talking about is what is Ionic. What is Ionic actually made of? So now Ionic is actually made up of basic things like the following. It has what is called as Bower, Gulp, Angular, and yeah, basically these are the things that make up Ionic. One thing I just missed out is Sass. Okay, okay. Now if Ionic as a whole consists of basically consists of some HTML based templates wherein the styling is done using Sass, and then you have Bower, which is basically used for creating managing the packages. For example, AngularJS is a package. Another example could be Ionic AngularJS. jQuery could be another package that can be installed inside your application. So basically Bower is the one that manages the packages for you, and then Sass is basically how you style the pages. It's okay if you don't know Sass, because you can write it in plain CSS also, and it will just work fine. Gulp is what automate and enhances your workflow. Now what this means is that for example, you have the Sass file. So Sass file is not actually CSS files. It has to be rendered into CSS files. So Gulp does that task for you. Now, as I told you earlier, maybe I have not told this earlier, AngularJS is one of the major part in Ionic development. So when you have AngularJS files, basically they are JavaScript files. Gulp will actually compress all the JavaScript files, concatenate them so that they are just minified into one single file, and it improves the application performance tremendously. So all these tasks are handled by Gulp. Gulp also does another task of refreshing the page whenever you edit it. For example, say for example you're editing a page and you want to see the changes. Usually what you do is refresh the page, but once you are using Gulp will monitor every page. So if you start editing it and when you save it, Gulp will automatically reload the page for you, so that you don't have to refresh it and so on. So Gulp does a lot of other things, which we'll be seeing it in soon. Okay, now so far is all you need to know about about Ionic. Now, one thing I just missed out is Apache Cordova. Apache Cordova is actually a very important thing that's actually a middleman between the Ionic application and the phone. Ionic application is actually um, does not have the ability to access phone features. For example, if your Ionic application want to access the phone camera, it will have to access the API provided by Apache Cordova. So that's the middleman between the phone and the Ionic application. So that's where Cordova comes into play. So Cordova has many APIs, many plugins, which will help Ionic to access Ionic or JavaScript to access the phone features like contacts, camera, accelerometer, GPS, and so many other features, file system. So that's basically what Apache Cordova is all about. One thing that you might have heard about is Phonegap. Phonegap is actually it's not an open source version. Basically, Phonegap and Apache Cordova are almost the same thing. The only difference is that Apache Cordova is an open source version, and Phonegap is actually is owned by Adobe. Adobe has done some flavoring to that, and there are some specific things that are created by Adobe, but then I think Apache Cordova and PhoneGap are almost the same thing. Okay, with that said, we'll go to the website of Ionic, and then we'll get started with our first app. So to get started with the first app, I'll just open the terminal, and I'll just cd into my home directory, and do an ls command. There are some apps over here, so I'll just remove it. Now basically, I have a folder called Ionic. I'm going to create my first Ionic app. So in order to create the first Ionic app, I'm going to type in the command Ionic start and then the name of the application. So I'll just type in first app. Okay. So it's going to install Ionic application inside the folder called first app. Okay, now it might take some time, but that's fine. It's going to download the application and install it. So one thing I again missed out was Git. Git is very important. So Git is like the default factor for almost every project that you do nowadays. So you know, if you are a programmer, then probably you should have Git installed on your machine. So it's actually cloning the base app from GitHub, and then it's installing that onto my machine. um, okay, now you can see that it's actually initializing Cordova project. Now um, now these are the three different kinds of templates that are available with ionicframework.com. These are the three default templates that are available from Ionic. So now right now you are just telling that telling Ionic to create an app, and the name of the app is first app. You're not specifying the name of the template that has to be used. So when you don't specify the name, it installs the default template. So it's going to be this template which is installed. So this is the command that we run. We did not add that tabs or the template name, so it is installing the default template, which is this template or the tab template. Now over here you can see that it has installed Ionic, and now sometimes it will ask you to create an account with ionic.io. Right now I've skipped that task, and you can do it always. It's good to have an Ionic it's good to have an Ionic account, ionic.io account. Now the next thing that we will do is we'll see how this app is going to work. Okay, now if I do an ls command over here, you can see that there is this folder called first app, and if I cd into first app, you can see that there are plenty of files and folders that is actually created by Ionic. This is what is actually creating our application. This www directory is actually the app that we see on the phone. Now one thing that needs to be kept in mind is this application is supposed to be running on the phone and not on the web. But since this is actually an HTML, CSS, JavaScript application, you can actually run this on the web, and then you can actually write code using JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS. So we will run this on the web, and then in a video, some video later on, we'll be exporting this to the phone, and we will add a platform for this, and then maybe install this on an Android phone and stuff like that. We can do all those things. For the time being, I'm just going to run this on the browser. So I'm going to type in the command ionic serve. Now, when I do run this command, what happens is that Ionic is going to bootstrap the app, and then it's going to open the app inside access. It will give access to the application with this particular URL. So I can just copy this, or in fact, it automatically opened this in Chrome, and I can hit F12 on your Windows, or on your Ubuntu machine, or you can inspect element, and you can it might look like this. Now you can click on this particular icon, so that the console, the developer console, is towards the right, and you have the application onto the left. You might have to refresh the page so that the page fits in properly. You can also select the device. So if you want to choose, if you want to render it as a mobile device, you can click on this icon over here. Right now it's not rendering as a mobile device, so you can see that the icon is not not like the touch device. So if I click on this icon over here, on the mobile icon over here, it will now be different, because it's actually not, it's like a touch device right now. So this is how our application is going to look in iPhone 6. So I can just change the device over here. For example, I can put it into Nexus 4, and this is how it's going to look in Nexus 4. I can put this on iPad too, and I can just give a refresh, page refresh, and this is how it will look in iPad too. Maybe I can just increase the size. Yep, this is how it's going to look in iPad, and I can click on this button over here. I'll put it back to iPhone 6. I can click on the chat icon over here and click on a particular person. You can see that the navigation, which is like the native application. So this is how our app is going to look like when it's installed inside the phone. And it will have buttons like this, which is exactly similar to that of the buttons in iPhone. You have the home page over here. Now, one thing I told about Gulp is that Gulp is going to continuously monitor the changes in files. So this Gulp can automate the task, and one of its tasks is to monitor the changes in files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab over here, or maybe I'll just open a new tab over here. For some reason my system is actually hanging a lot, and I'll go to my first app, and then I'll go to www, and then I'll go to template, and I'll do an ls command, and I'm going to edit tab.html. Now tab-dash.html is actually what you see over here. So this page is actually the one that you see over here. So I'm going to edit this file. Instead of the number 3, I'm going to give it as number 4. Insert and then number 4. I'm going to save this, write and quit, and as soon as I do that, you can see that this page is actually going to reload. So I'm going to save and quit, and then you can see that this page automatically reload. This is actually done by Gulp, and you can see the latest number, that is number 4, is being displayed over here. This is actually done by Gulp. Now everything is bootstrapped using Ionic Serve, so you don't have to worry about handling Gulp, or handling SAS, or handling Bower. So that's basically it. Now we are going to quit this. So this is our first application. We are going to quit this, and we are going to go back to back to Ionic folder, and we are going to create another Ionic app. So Ionic start, the name of the application is going to be side menu, and I'm going to give the name as side menu, and I'm also going to define the template, which is also side menu. So I'm going to create an application called side menu, and the template that it's going to use is also side menu. So I'm going to hit enter over here, and it's going to create an application with the name side menu, and it's going to clone the side menu template. Okay, so this could take some time, so we'll just wait. I'll just close a couple of tabs on my system because Chrome is actually eating a lot of RAM on my machine. Okay, now it's actually downloading side menu project, so you can see that it's actually getting the side menu project. And okay, now it's initializing Cordova project. Okay, we'll do one thing, we'll just move back to our Ionic directory over here, and then we'll do an ls command. You can see that the side menu folder was created, which is our application. Now it's slowly initializing the project, so we will cd into side menu. It's the application is not complete yet, so we'll wait for it to be complete. Initialization is not complete yet. Okay, now this is taking way too much of time than I expected it to be taking. Yeah, it's complete. Okay, now what we have right now is that we have a side menu project, and we have installed that properly. Now we are in the side menu folder, and then I'm going to do an Ionic serve over here, and it's going to open up this IP, and then it's going to bootstrap the app, and I can access that app into this particular IP. So I'm going to paste it over here. Okay, I'm going to hit F12 or inspect element on this particular page, and I'm going to refresh this page. Now this is how the application is going to look in iPhone 6. So you have the left menu over here. I can click on login, and the login comes from the bottom. So it has a nice little animation over here, which is, which kind of look like the native app. You have the search, browse. So the animations are very smooth. This is basically what you see when you install this on an iPhone also. So this is basically how the app is going to behave. Now this template is actually used by most of the apps, so I thought I'll just install this one also. Now there is one template that we did not install. This is the blank template. I thought we'll skip it for the time being because blank template is just blank, so there is nothing to be shown. It just has the header. You can install it if you want. but that's fine. If you if you want to know what it is, you can install it. Now I'm going to back to my Ionic directory. Now sometimes what happens is that you might have to install templates that are not there inside the Ionic framework. For example, you might find a GitHub repo and that has a template for, and you want to install that as an Ionic template. um, Maybe we'll just search for an uh, Ionic shopping cart template, and Ionic. Okay, I'll just open up this template over here, and if I want this template, I'm not sure if this is a properly working template or not, but if I want this template to be installed as an Ionic app, into an Ionic app, then what I do is I just do a Ionic start over here, and then create the start, the name of the application. So maybe it's like some template, and then I give the URL to this particular Ionic GitHub repo. So it's not the clone URL, it's not this URL, it's actually this one. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it over here. Now I hit enter, it's going to actually install this template into the Ionic project. So but as I when I look into this, I can see that it has a lot of installation um, setup that has to be done, so it's not going to work um, properly unless I do all this installation. So just keep in mind that if you want to install some third-party templates, this is how you do it. You can give the URL to that particular repository. So that's it. This is the basic of Ionic. We'll see more of Ionic in the coming videos. Do subscribe, like, comment, and thank you. Have a great day. Bye.